Hello and welcome to FCTV Studio here at 310 Dillingham Avenue. My name is Jeff Wyman with FCTV. Today we have a special guest with us from the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, and you are Tom Cahir, correct?
Yes,
and you
thanks,
are the
Jeff.
Director.
Yep.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been the RTA administrator for now 12 years, and prior to that I was state rep for Falmouth, and then obviously the Deputy Secretary for Transportation in the Commonwealth for a few years, so I'm getting old.
Well, you don't look it.
Thank you.
So, okay, 12-year tenure in your position. What are like some of the things that have changed since you started to now? I mean, just in general.
Well, you know, the transit industry is ever changing, and I would say that IT, you know, is key. You know, there's always new technology being unveiled to try to make the transit experience a lot more pleasant and expeditious. And so I would say that would be the big change. But you know, now we're in the process of transitioning from combustion engines to electric vehicles, and you know, with an emphasis on climate-related issues. So here on the Cape, we have, and my responsibility is 15 Cape towns and approximately 400 square miles where we provide service. And we have general fixed route service that goes into all 15 Cape towns on the hour. So you can, essentially, you can get to every Cape community in a, you know, in a fairly efficient manner, which years ago was a little more difficult. It would take hours and you'd have to transfer and the like. But so a lot of good things have been going on over the last decade or so in terms of making the trip to move around Cape Cod a lot easier.
Right. Just out of curiosity, as a follow-up question, throughout the past 10 years, what's the rate differences that consumers have?
We haven't changed at all since I've got there. It's $2 a ride and $1 for elderly and people with disabilities. And during that time, we've implemented Free Fare Friday for all our fixed routes, so you can go on any of our fixed route. Here in Falmouth, it's the Sea Line for free. And on Wednesdays, seniors 60 and older can use our fixed route services for free. So we've noticed when we're a data-driven agency, we look at the numbers, and you know, ridership on those particular days has increased. And a lot of people talk to me as I traverse the Cape and say, gee, you know, this is a great thing. I get, you know, from Sandwich or Mashpee down to Truro and Wellfleet, which I otherwise wouldn't have done, but I get to look at the scenic vistas and enjoy the trip. And our drivers are trained and very polite and courteous, and so we've made some good changes over the years. And you know, it's a wonderful team that I have there that works passionately every day to try to effectuate positive change, and it's a good group to work with. So, you know, we're doing some good things.
Excellent. Talking about the past 10 years, we were talking a little bit before the show started about a 10-year strategic plan going forward. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we were the beneficiary of, I would say, significant stimulus dollars during the COVID period, and you know, that obviously disrupted not only transit, it disrupted the world. But so for the past couple of years, you know, things have changed. Ridership has decreased, you know, all across the country with multimodal trains, buses, boats. But we're now recovering, and we're doing okay. We have a Cape Flyer train that runs every weekend for 15 weekends in the summer, and the ridership is getting back to where it was pre-2019. But the stimulus money that we've received, and with our regular communication with Congressman Keating in particular, you know, throughout the pandemic, where he was asking, you know, what our needs were. And one of the things that we did years ago was we partnered very closely with the Steamship Authority. You know, we asked the Federal Transit Administration if it was, I don't want to get too technical here, but we receive NTD dollars, the National Transit Data dollars, federal formula funds that we use to operate our services. And it's based on intercity buses, van pools, road miles, and ridership. So a few years ago we thought, well, gee, I wonder if we could count ferry miles in that equation. And we ran it by FTA, and they hadn't heard it before, but they ultimately agreed that, yeah, it would make some sense. So the steamship went through the hoops and jumped over all the hurdles to put in the reports that they needed to do to work closely with us. And that has generated significantly more resources to our region, Cape Cod. And throughout the pandemic, because of that partnership and the criteria used by Congress, we were kind of unique. So we received, millions of dollars in stimulus dollars. And so therefore, we have agreements with GATRA, the Greater Attleboro Transit Authority. We have agreements with Bay State Cruises, Highline, and others. So a lot of our stimulus dollars gets distributed out. But the partnership with the Steamship Authority has been really significant for allowing us to access resources that can allow us to improve our transportation services on the Cape. And so our 10-year strategic plan, we're investing those dollars in a way that we think long-term is going to make a difference and bring in what we need to do what we want to do to improve services. So, and as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Jeff, the transition from combustion engines, fossil fuel to electric vehicles is really the emphasis now. Legislatures and Congress and others are setting these dates for net zero, 2035, net zero greenhouse gas emissions, and so we're very cognizant of that. And we also, in the interim, are using buses that use diesel fuel, but we make the case that if we can get people out of their vehicles and into public transportation, that's reducing the contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. So we're doing a lot of things. We work very closely with the Cape Cod Commission. Steve Tupper and his team over there, and Christy Senatori there, that we meet with them every week on one thing or another just to know what's happening and know what's going on. We're working with them right now to develop an RFP to hire a consultant to do a very comprehensive regional plan for electric vehicles and electric infrastructure needs. And by the end of this month, we'll have that out on the streets. So a lot of good things going, a lot of forward-thinking ideas from the great team that we all work with.
Speaking of infrastructure, I was kind of curious about that. You mentioned the transition to electric. What are some of the infrastructure changes and evolutions that the RTA is going to have to build to make this possible?
Well, we already now, 5 years ago, we put in we went to solar at our site. Our campus is 10 acres, and we have solar arrays now, and it has reduced our energy demand 93%, and it's been very significant. It's not only reconfigured our parking and aesthetically made our area look better, but it's making a difference with energy demand reductions. So that's what we started to do. And now we also have 22 electric vehicle charging stations on site, so people can come to our site and hook up their electric vehicle and get charged. As we're learning more about what's going to be needed, we're still curious about the climate impacts on batteries and power going up hills and things of that nature in a big bus. So there are a number of studies going on. We're working with MassDOT with a battery electric bus study. So we're learning new information all the time because we don't want to invest our resources, without thinking, how to best utilize those limited resources. So, but those are the things that we're doing primarily: electric charging stations and solar arrays. We even put a solar array down at our operations center in Dennis, where we keep our 120 plus buses down there, and where we run our service out of. So we're walking the walk, and I think it's time. That's what the whole industry, the whole country, the whole world's going to. So public transportation is a critical piece. People that are fortunate to have the means to have a nice car and vehicle, they can go where they want to go, but there's a lot of people that depend on public transportation. And during the pandemic, essential workers at hospitals and healthcare facilities and grocery shopping and things, we didn't miss a beat. We continued throughout the entire pandemic to provide those services. And and I was so pleased we could, because there were thousands of people that depended on us. And so, and also on Cape Cod, where, I had the privilege of representing the Upper Cape in the legislature for 14 years. And, the roads on the Cape were never really built to accommodate the volumes that they have to deal with now year round. It used to be just summer, but, all year round we've got traffic congestion. So public transportation is important, and we try to make it the best and most convenient, accessible, affordable, and a good experience for the rider.
Excellent. We've been talking a lot about technology improvements. You mentioned before a new website that you're unveiling.
Yeah, we've recently unveiled it. It's a new website, capecodrta.org, and I'm not as skilled with technology as a lot of the people that I work with are, but I thought that our old website was good. It was informative, and it told folks what we provide and what we do. But this new state-of-the-art website really is very easy to navigate. You can learn where our buses are. You can learn about all the services we're providing, all the things we're doing, it's really, I encourage people to look at it, capecodrta.org, and it's a very nice instrument to learn about us.
Is there a tool on there that's kind of tracking the buses in real time so people can know?
It is. And
that's pretty cool.
there's route plans. You can find out where the bus is, and you can plan your trip. And yeah, it's really it's amazing how advanced it is. So it's another asset that we are proud of.
That kind of just sounds like fun to just play with. To
Yeah,
track
exactly.
all the buses.
Yeah, that's what I do on Mondays. I check it out and
Nice.
poke around and see what's going on with it. Yeah, and we try to keep, any news that we're involved in out there for people to know, and so we've heard good things from the customers we serve as well.
Great. No, I'd imagine that's
Yeah.
fantastic for them, myself included. So that's like a general overview of RTA and what's going on. So we're in Falmouth. So the people watching here are interested in Falmouth specific stuff, probably more so. So we've got a few bullet points here of some Falmouth specific stuff. The first thing on my list is some digital signage that you're going to be utilizing.
Yeah, several months ago I was at a Falmouth Selectmen's meeting, and I was talking to the board about some of the new things we're considering, and at the time we learned about the possibility of bringing what's called digital signage. So there'd be various locations in Falmouth that would digitally tell you where the buses are, how many minutes it will be until it gets to the stop, and we have schedules out there where people can know, but it'll be a visual technology that allows people to see firsthand where the bus is. So that's going to be, I checked this morning before I came over here, because I promised Falmouth I'd have it for them after Labor Day, and we're still confident that will be the case. There were some supply chain issues, but it isn't going to delay things that much longer. So it'll be this fall where we have those. And we're going to work with the town, and Sam Patterson is our board member on the Regional Transit Authority. He's a sitting selectman and pays attention to what we're doing and pays attention to Falmouth. And of course, have people like, Representative Sue Moran Senator Sue Moran and Representative Vieira, who are constantly in touch with us about how they can help us with state resources. And so all of those folks, help participate and provide the resources that allow us to do these things. So this digital signage we're going to talk to, Sam and others, Ed DeWitt and others in town here that are involved in transportation, to see which stops they would like to have these at. But it'll be a neat feature. Yeah,
that was my next question. Have you decided on the locations of these yet and the number of them? Yeah, no, I think that's going to be very helpful for people as well. In addition to the website, if they can't get to the website, then they'll be very interesting. Something that's kind of revolutionary that you mentioned you are testing in some other towns down Cape, an on-demand app. So folks can have an app on their phone, and they can order a ride from CCRTA, similar to like an Uber or a Lyft. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of why maybe they want to choose RTA over some of the other apps.
Well, it's a good question, Jeff, and it's something we're very proud of because we developed this in-house over probably 2 years ago. It's an on-demand app for your phone, which allows you to summon one of our vehicles, which we will come and get you within 20 minutes, half an hour, and take you where you need to go. The objective really isn't to make long-distance trips with this, but ideally to take you to a fixed route service where you can get on and go on to a further location. But we're going to have them hopefully, ultimately, in lower, outer, and mid-Cape, and then upper Cape, so that they will take you anywhere within those regions in a very efficient manner. For many years, we've had what is called our DART service. It's a service where you have to call 24 hours ahead of time to call us and schedule a ride. We'll come to your home and pick you up, which we've been doing for 10 years very effectively and very efficiently, the best in the state at doing it. But it still requires a 24-hour call ahead. And a lot of doctor's appointments and those things, that's why that's an important service we provide. But this is like less than a half an hour, we will come and get you. So when I saw how we've developed it, it's just exactly like Uber and Lyft, except it's much cheaper. It's $3 per trip.
Wow.
It's $3 per trip, and we have drivers that are trained professionals who emphasize safety. You know, periodically you hear about an Uber and Lyft driver where there was an incident on the trip. You know, not to discourage all of that, but ours is much better. And so we've tried it out in Yarmouth and Barnstable for the last year, and our goal was to get it Cape-wide within a year or two. But you know, some of the things have prevented us from doing that because primarily the shortage of drivers. You know, it's a national crisis. We like every other transit agency in the state is struggling, not just transit, but a lot of folks trying to find help. And we've managed to not skip a single service all year. We have had to reduce 1 or 2 services over the summer, but we've been able to manage it. But we're like 20% below what our drivers, the number for drivers necessary to provide all of the services. So, but even with that, I'm not going to expand Cape-wide for a while, but our next goal is to come into Falmouth and Sandwich. And so I've asked our folks to start moving on that so that this fall, probably late fall, but sometime this fall, that Smart Dart app will be available to Falmouth and Sandwich residents as well as Yarmouth and Barnstable. And you know, I encourage people again to look at our website to learn more about Smart Dart because it speaks specifically as to how that works and how you are able to get the app and the like. So it really is a game changer, and it's a really nice thing to have. And you know, down the road, you know, a lot of these towns, every town on the Cape has beach parking challenges, and Falmouth too, but really significant in Dennis and down there. And you know, if people are coming to the Cape for the summer or a week or 2 weeks in the summer, they wouldn't have to drive necessarily to the parking areas of the beaches. They could summon our Smart Dart and they would come and get you. And so it's pretty cool, and it's working well in those 2 communities, and I assume will work well here in Falmouth, which is a special town to me.
Excellent. And along that note, you mentioned a partnership with Shipwreck down in Falmouth Heights for beach shuttle services. Yeah,
this is another thing that, you know, the beach parking challenges are, as I said, are difficult all across the Cape. You know, you have to, many times you have to line up at 5 o'clock to get your car in the parking lot. And so a gentleman who owns Shipwreck, the restaurant over in the Heights, contacted me a couple months ago, probably 2 months ago, and he's talked about the possibility of providing some sort of beach shuttle in Falmouth that would go from Kenyon's Market down to Surf Drive and would go on the half hour, so that with multiple stops and flag stops. And he was certainly aware that we couldn't do something this summer, you know, when we're just talking about it in July or June, but he wanted to work with us and do it right so that we can provide the service. So our team, we've sat down a number of times with virtual calls with this gentleman's name is Alex Kahn, and we've had several meetings with him, and he's putting together a small committee here in Falmouth who would have an interest in this. And we decided that after Labor Day we would convene as a group and work on how this is going to play out. But I talked to my operations folks this morning about it, and they're all excited. They've got a plan all in place with the stops. So I see no reason why this wouldn't be in place for next summer, the summer of '23.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a good thing that he thought of that. And
Yeah,
contacted you guys.
it's exciting.
Well, Tom, we've covered a lot this morning. I always like to ask guests if there's something that we did not touch on that you would like to bring up.
Well, you know, we did have a ransomware attack on Memorial Day weekend, which, you know, you hear about these cybersecurity issues, but until you experience it, and again, our IT people are so great. Our service was not really interrupted, but we had all our files encrypted, and it was a challenge to get back to where we needed to be. But our service really wasn't interrupted too badly, but that was something that people have to take seriously, you know, these cybersecurity matters. It can really can cripple an organization, and on Memorial Day weekend for us to get that to happen to us. But we weathered that, and you know, our Cape Flyer train is running. This is our 9th year now, and the ridership is getting back to where it used to be, and people are coming to the Cape without their cars, and when they get to the Cape, we have a bus for a seamless transfer to their final destination. It makes that quite efficient. We're doing all kinds of neat stuff, and great people to work with that I have that are just so great. And as I said, you know, the steamship has helped us access a lot more resources with the great partnership they've been with us.
Yeah, well, that's a lot, and you change the lives of a lot of people every day. Make their transition to work to home, home to work a lot more efficient, a lot easier. And it sounds like you're bringing more to the table every day.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. It's very kind, and I appreciate that.
So if folks did have any questions about any of these things, what's the best way to contact someone at the RTA to get
Well,
the
you can always
information?
call. You can always call us at 775-8504, and we always answer the phone, and we're there to answer any questions we have. As I said, we have a great team of folks down there, and we encourage people to call and ask any questions they may have, and again, look at our website to see what other features we provide.
Great. Well, we will be in contact in the next half a year or so, I would say, to
Yeah.
get some updates
Yeah.
on some of these things.
You
to see
hold my
how-
feet to the fire on those,
Yeah.
because I did promise Falmouth that would happen, so it's going to happen.
Well, you've held the job for 12 years and you've been doing a great job, so
Thank you very
I
much, Jeff.
imagine you will in the future too. Well, thanks for watching, everyone, tuning in to an FCTV program here with a CCRTA administrator. We will see you next time.